I didn't do my cold open. Let's start there instead. Today on Locked On Rockies is Justin Lawrence, one of the players I've always been interested in, a piece of this bullpen going forward.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 19th day of October in the year 2022. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every single day. You are in the right place if you're a Rockies fan, because that's what we do around here. Every day we talk about the Rockies, off-season, regular season, hopefully one day the postseason. We're breaking all things Colorado Rockies down for you, the lovely, lovely Rockies fans out there. Today on Locked On Rockies, we are going to talk about the bullpen a little bit more in Justin Lawrence, take a little bit at his stats, take a little bit at what Purple Row had to say about him as they're underway with their player rankings. Joel DeGrace is already here in the live chat, just like you can. If you subscribe to Locked On Rockies on YouTube, click that little notification bell. You'll know when we're live, and that means you can jump in and ask your questions live. If you ask a lot of the people that hop into the live chat regularly, they can tell you that we love to answer your questions. I love to talk to the live chat. That makes this show a lot better, especially as we go through the off season together. We can kind of bounce our ideas off each other, see what's on the minds of Rockies fans as well. So go subscribe to Locked On Rockies on YouTube, and we thank you for making your first listen of the day. Let's start on our big conversation of the day, and it's about Justin Lawrence. And we head over here to Purple Row. They are ranking the Rockies. Evan Lang writes, Justin Lawrence cemented his big league foundation and now must build on it. The Lion of Panama finally got consistent big league innings and shows great promise if he can continue to improve, adapt, and adjust. It's been a long road to get there, but Justin Lawrence, who Evan has affectionately nicknamed the Lion of Panama for his mane of long hair and fearless pitching style, can say without a doubt that he's a big league pitcher. In 2021, Lawrence made 19 appearances over 16 and 2/3 innings with a big league club, but spent most of his season with AAA Albuquerque. This year, Lawrence doubled his appearances and almost tripled his innings with the Rockies. He pitched 42 and 2/3 innings over 38 appearances. After Lawrence pitched 6 innings during spring training with a 5.50 ERA, 1 home run allowed, 5 strikeouts, and just 1 walk, he unexpectedly did not make the opening day roster. However, when COVID swept through the clubhouse before the season began, Lawrence found himself on the opening day roster after all. Lawrence pitched very well from April 8th to May 6th, posting a 2.19 ERA and 3.19 FIP over those 11 appearances. Notably, he had turned down the velocity on his high-spin sinker in favor of better command. His walks, hits, ERA, exit velocity, and hard hit percentage were all down compared to last season. He was also seeing movement on both his sinker and slider while locating them better. That's why it was so confusing when the Rockies optioned Lawrence to AAA on May 8th. At the time, he was one of the Rockies' best and most reliable relievers alongside Daniel Bard and Tyler Kinley. However, for the next few months, Lawrence was optioned and recalled 5 times, reaching the single-season option limit established in the new CBA. If the Rockies had optioned him one more time this season, he would have had to clear waivers. Over the next few months, he fell victim to inconsistent use. Lawrence pitched very well in AAA, showing he has very little left to prove at that level. In 28 appearances and 29 and a third inning with the Isotopes, he had an ERA of 3.07 and struck out 49 batters while walking just 13 and giving up only 2 home runs in the hitter-friendly PCL. Lawrence was recalled again on August 13th. The Rockies would have to keep him on the active roster for the rest of the season or risk him being claimed on waivers if they optioned him again. The Rockies not only kept him on the roster, but also turned to him out of the bullpen more than almost every other reliever from August 17th through the end of the season. Lawrence sat atop the bullpen with 22 appearances. Only Carlos Estevez had as many appearances during that time. He kept the ERA below 5 for most of 2022, but 2 difficult outings in late September caused his ERA to bloat. From August 17th through September 22nd, Lawrence had an ERA of 3.92 in 16 appearances and a FIP of 3.21 through 20 and two-thirds innings. He struck out a whopping 21 batters with just 6 walks. Lawrence also finished the season strong with 3 straight scoreless outings. He earned his first career save in his final appearance of the season on October 3rd against the LA Dodgers. There's a lot more about Lawrence in that piece that you should go check out, but I wanted to set the stage with all of Evan's work there from Purple Row because it does paint the picture of, I would say, one of the more interesting options the Rockies have. I think the Rockies turning and using and believing in Justin Lawrence is a good thing. I think having a high velocity pitcher that comes out of the pen with a completely unique arm movement and arm angle is great for the Rockies, and we saw him strike batters out. That was massive. I like that he made adjustments in his pitching this year for him to have more control over his pitches, because that's obviously one of the things you worry about with a player like Lawrence and what we saw with Lawrence in 2021. So, is there enough there? Did we see enough? And I think so. I think making sure that he knows going into this year, we talk a lot about the mental side of the game. There's a lot there for a player like Lawrence, who's still kind of breaking out, busting out, making his impression, to still go up and down, up and down, up and down. If Justin Lawrence gets to go into this season, impresses in spring training, and knows that he is going to be a key piece of this Rockies bullpen, that is going to help with his process. That's going to help with his focus. That's going to help keep him in the situation, in the MLB situation. Like Evan wrote in his piece there, he can't keep going back down to AAA and being really good down there because it's not helping him and it's not helping the Rockies overall. As much as it helps the Isotopes and as much as you want to, root on the Topes and stuff, Lawrence needs to be with the Rockies full time and needs to continue to get opportunities. We see solid stretches from him, and he fell while going up and down, and while in a couple of bad starts. That's going to happen. A couple of bad instances from the bullpen is fine, when overall Justin Lawrence was pretty solid for the Rockies. He does finish the season with a negative WAR according to Baseball Reference, but just negative 0.2, not necessarily someone that is way out of line. 5.7 ERA, like we mentioned, Evan, the 2 of those starts really inflating that ERA, but still was hovering around 6 in that 4, I should say, in his ERA, even outside of those 2 starts. But the Rockies clearly believed in Lawrence this year. It's just interesting how they handled him going up and down. I actually forgot about how much up and down and going through that he had to do this season. But he did end up, he pitched 42 innings for the Rockies, averaging more than a hit. You'd like to see from a player like Lawrence less hits per inning, under a hit per inning. That didn't happen this year. It didn't happen in 2021 as well. All 27 of his runs that he gave up this year were earned. 3 home runs, 22 walks. But what's interesting about the walks in this, and it's a good sign, and when I first saw 22 walks, I was like, oh, he increased his walks. But in basically near and doubling his appearances with the Rockies in this, he doesn't double his walks. He stays about 6 walks under doubling that. Actually, I think I might even actually be having that way wrong. Let me double check that. Math. Yeah, actually, if you were to double his performance from 2021, he would have given you just double all the stats just for simplicity's sakes. I know it's not exactly how it's going to shake out, but that was a pace of 38 walks last season in 2021 versus 22 walks. So 16 less walks than he was on pace to do last year, as well as a lot more strikeouts. He's a flamethrower. He's got an interesting arm angle, and I think he's shown enough. Like Evan points out, the foundation is there, especially when there's one interesting wrinkle you have to consider with this next season for the Rockies. And I think Lawrence is going to be someone that is exactly the person that's in that conversation about plans for the Rockies. And I'll tell you about who that is in a moment. But before we do that, I got to tell you about some of the people that help make this show possible. And folks, I'm not good with dress shirts. I really am not. I don't have a very proportioned body for dress shirts. I have a very wide and kind of chunky neck, and it's very hard for me to find the shirt that fits right, that's also comfortable and looks good. Well, good news for people like me, and maybe good news for people like you. The dress shirt was due for a radical reinvention, and Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Rhone's commuter shirt is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible shirt known to man, and here's why. Rhone's comfortable four-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way, from your commute to work to your 18 holes of golf. That's the best part. You can go get the deal done while also going out there and looking good doing it. With the Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Rhone is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. It's time to feel confident with a wrinkle-free shirt without the hassle. Rhone's wrinkle release technology. Wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the shirt. So yes, that's right. No need to worry about ruining your clothes when you're out there playing a little catch as you wind down the day. You're going to stretch out those wrinkles, save a little time on the ironing as well. The commuter shirt can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to Rhone.com/lockedon and use promo code LOCKEDON to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/lockedon and use code LOCKEDON. RHONE.com/lockedon. That's Rhone.com. It's time to find your corner office comfort. Joel DeGrace says, a high-velocity sidearm thrower is an awesome thing for our pen if he can keep it under control. I think he deserves a place in our pen. If we give him consistency as our setup guy, it'll help him really grow into something solid. And I think that is something massive, what we talk about all the time with baseball players. They need consistency. They need routine. They need reps. He got reps. You can't deny it. He got double the innings that he got. He got a lot of opportunities late in the year. And what happens if the Rockies lose Carlos Estevez? Carlos Estevez moves on. Justin Lawrence is probably the person you look at on the Rockies roster to fill Estevez's role. Hard throwing, velocity guy to get you out of jams in the eighth inning to set up for Daniel Bard. That is an interesting wrinkle there. The Rockies are better when Estevez and Lawrence are on there. And I was very critical of Carlos Estevez. And when we do Carlos Estevez review, I mean, it'll be a really interesting conversation we have. And it's a really interesting spot that the Rockies have found themselves in with Estevez. But Lawrence is exactly, at least you have a player that can somewhat replicate what Estevez brings there. They're not the same. They're not one for one, especially when Estevez was, finishes with 1.1 WAR there in 57 innings pitched, about 15 more innings for Estevez than Lawrence, also a few more years in the league as well. So giving Justin Lawrence the full confidence, the full opportunity, the full knowledge that he is a key part to this bullpen could be the thing that paves, I should say, the way to a breakout. And if he can keep walks down, if he is a piece of this Rockies bullpen that can keep the free passes down, then that is a massive, massive benefit for the Rockies. And it's a massive step forward for him as well. The one thing I do worry about were the 3 home runs. The home runs from a pitcher like Lawrence, three's not a lot, obviously. And especially when you look at the innings pitched, it's not 3 is a low number, but those can be tough. And though when you throw high velocity, high heat like a player like Lawrence, it's something that you have to kind of consider there. But the home run needs to be something that the Rockies can avoid. And I think Lawrence is going to be able to do that, especially when, again, what he had that stretch. Let me go back to it here. And this was at the end of the season, I think, which is an important thing to remember. From August 17th, again, this is from Purple Rose, ranking the Rockies. Evan Lang, Justin Lawrence cemented his big league foundation and now must build on it. From August 17th through September 22nd, Lawrence had an ERA of 3.92 in 16 appearances and a FIP of 3.23 through 20 2/3 innings. He struck out a whopping 21 batters with just 6 walks. He also finished the season strong with 3 straight scoreless outings, and he earned his first career save in his final appearance of the season on October 3rd against the Dodgers. Again, just like we were talking about here with Jonathan Daza last week, or was it earlier? No, I think it was last week. The audition is over. Lawrence has proved that it's enough. Yes, the numbers and the stats aren't flashy enough, but when you get that stretch at the end of the year and when you're playing all competition outside of San Francisco, who was still kind of in the mix, all the competition the Rockies faced in the last 2-3 weeks of the season were big division rivals that had things to play for in this season. So Lawrence went up against really good lineups, and especially that outing in LA, and proved himself yet again. So now's the time to skip around with the up and the down, any of that other stuff, and start instilling and telling him, you are a key piece to this Rockies bullpen. You are going to you are going to be here. You're going to be part of this roster, and you're going to contribute for us. By the way, it's if you're curious what FIP is, according to Baseball Reference, this stat measures a pitcher's effectiveness at preventing home runs, walks, hit by pitch, and causing strikeouts. So that's the description there of fielding independent pitching. And the question in the live chat: did Lawrence hit anybody this year? One batter hit from Justin Lawrence this year. He has 1 hit by a pitch, 22 walks. So 23 total walks for Lawrence in 42.2 innings. So good, keeping the walk numbers low. I'd like to see that even lower. But that's fine. When the end of your season is your first save and it's against the Dodgers, and for a good chunk of the dog days of summer, you go on a streak where you have 20 strikeouts to 6 walks. That's helping your team win. Walks in his position are something you need to be able to limit. Absolutely. The bullpen needs to cut down on walks for sure. But 20 strikeouts to 6 walks is helpful for the Rockies, and it puts them on that. And Joel, that's an interesting point there about asking, wouldn't that stat show he's not confident on he's not confident on throwing inside? It could be. It could be still the fact that we've seen Lawrence have control issues. It definitely could also be adjusting still, with it being really only his first full season and season and a half in the majors. He with what he did in 2021, he wasn't with the team the whole time. He wasn't pitching against the best in the business, all there. But it definitely could be an issue for Lawrence on the with throwing on the inside. It's an absolute interesting point there, and wonder if that's going to be there. But maybe that's not how his stuff works. He likes to have it break away. I'm not really a pitching expert, so to speak, but likes his pitches to break away from the batters and stay away and try to get and miss the bat on the outside versus trying to get bad contact or weak contact or try to get something off the inside of the bat or inside of the hands. It could be that type of approach. Well, new name there. Guillen in the chat has a question for us, and we will talk about that in just a moment. But first, if you haven't tried Built Bar Puffs yet, you are depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. And guess what? There's a new flavor. Ready for it? It's delicious, indulgent cookie dough covered in chocolate. That's right. Built has done it again. Let me introduce you to your new favorite cookie dough, a chunk puff. They have, there's the S and the H are close there. I don't know. You can shave the calories and the sugar out of your diet by switching to a Built bar like the cookie dough chunk puff. They got the real cookie dough chunks, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. They're only 160 calories. And guess what? Whopping 15 grams of protein in them. You can head over to Built.com, snag a box for you, for the family, give them out for Halloween treats. Do something different this year. Like all Built bars, the new cookie dough chunk puff is covered in 100% real chocolate. That means they're healthy and tasty. Chocolate-covered cookie dough with a light, fluffy texture. So good. What's great about Built is all of their bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. Go to Built.com. That's Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON15 and get 15% off your order at Built.com when you use the promo code LOCKEDON15. Built.com, promo code LOCKEDON15, get 15% off your order, Built.com. Gian asks, any big name player / deal you think the Rockies could and should land this offseason? We've talked a lot about this, and I'm sure this question is going to continue to pop up. The Rockies should go after someone that can provide offense. The Rockies also should look at this giant, really in-depth starting pitching free agency class and go out there and get a veteran arm or two for this bullpen, because the Rockies really are not bullpen for your rotation. Because the Rockies really don't have a lot of starting pitching depth. Talked a little bit about some. Zach Greinke could be an interesting option. There's plenty of vets that you could take a flyer on and see. Plenty of good names there. It all depends on how much money the Rockies are truly willing to spend. And if you really do believe you're a contender, if you do believe you're close, then that should mean that your owner has confidence enough in the team to spend money to help it get better. I think the Rockies should also go after Aaron Judge. I know that's a crazy thing, but I at least be in the conversation. Joel, I disagree. Stay away from Trevor Bauer with a 10-foot pole. Not worth it. So many other options out there in the class of free agent starting pitchers that are worth that actually are ready, that can play, that have been playing, and that don't have nearly the baggage of Trevor Bauer. I just think there's too many other options that you can go for. But again, basically to answer your question, people that can hit home runs for the Rockies, and as we've seen in the playoffs and as we saw from the Yankees yesterday, the home run is so important. It's so important to go after some people that can hit home runs and get the ball over the wall until offense can get generated. And we'll see what happens without the shift. You have to make home runs still a part of your ball game. And it's exactly what the Yankees have always believed. It bites them. But, when you have the right people to do it, when you have the people to hit home runs, it makes such a difference. It's how Houston beat Seattle. They couldn't score any other way against Seattle other than the long ball. It's how the Yankees beat really anybody, and they take advantage of their ballpark. You got to take advantage of Coors Field and be a team that can hit home runs. And it's just kind of my short little take on that. But folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked on Rockies. Thank you all so much for joining in. Joel DeGrace here in the live chat again as well. Follow the show at LO Rockies on Twitter. You can follow me at Paul Holden 33. And if you subscribe to Locked on Rockies on YouTube, you'll know when we go live. You can be part of the show and you can stay up to date with your Rockies talk all off season long. And if you're in the live chat, we get to answer your questions. We get to chat. We get to have tons of fun. So don't miss out on that. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Now that you've done that, go make Locked On MLB your second listen of the day and stay up to date with all things Colorado sports with the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, and Locked On Nuggets podcast. And folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On